What's up, everyone? Alex here. And also, David is here. No, what's going on here?
How are you? Good to see you here. Good to be here.
I'm really good. So in case people are confused, last January, David and I recorded or attempted to record a two-parter where we're both in the same area talking about games, and all that good stuff. And then some drunk bastard basically forgot to check all the footage afterwards. And so part of that got lost, and this is what's left.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. And we are going to be talking today about the games that we're most looking forward to in 2024. We've narrowed it down. There's a lot of games coming out this year, but there's three that we really want. And it is now 9:47 at night. We've been drinking since about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And, it's a bit much. So if you don't know who I am, I'm David Vinc. You should know who I am because this is my channel, people. And over here, my special guest. Introduce yourself.
My name is Alex.
His fault.
Sorry.
I told him to check it. His fault.
And that's kind of the thing. Ever since then, I've heeded David's warnings. So we have quadruple checked this one. He's recording something on his end. I'm recording something on my end. We are making sure that this is going to go out without a hitch. And this is going to come out at the same time as the video that we actually finished recording in January. The drunk cast, I suppose.
We were very, very, very drunk.
But me more than you.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. Since then, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out. It's ancient history at this point. But
I know.
So we're here to talk about the games that we're looking forward to in 2024 because the video that David and I made was all about last year. So this one, I know that there's a gap between the beginning of January at the end of and middle of March. I understand that, but that's what we're going with. We're going to be looking at the future from March onward, 2024, because you guys think we had some great games in the first quarter. No, there's a lot more coming, right, David?
Tons of great games coming out. And these are probably not the games that we discussed the first time around whenever we actually did our recording.
Yeah.
They're the games that we are going to be discussing here. So
super excited.
It works. It is what it is. Yeah.
I know. And yeah, it's like one of those things as a YouTuber, right? Let's freaking do it live. Let's do it. So speaking of,
why not?
I want you to talk about your pick first because you were gracious enough to help out last time. I think it's just fitting that you started this time.
Okay, sounds good to me. The game that I am probably most looking forward to this year is Visions of Mana. I have been a huge Mana fan ever since I got the first one, ever since I got Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy way back in the day. Didn't even know it was part of the Mana series. Then I got Secret of Mana and I loved it. Then we skipped out on, Seiken Densetsu 3 because we're the redheaded stepchildren over here in America. It kind of sucks, but whatever. Anyway, we've gotten those games. I have loved the Mana series for so long now. What did that come out, 92 or something? Mm-hmm. So It has been a good 30-something years that I've been in love with the Mana series. And, nostalgia dies hard. I'm really looking forward to this. Mostly because it seems to be a back-to-the-basics approach. There's good Mana, and then there's weird Mana.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the weird Mana, if you know what I mean. That whole World of Mana thing that they did with Circle of Mana and Echoes of Mana and Heroes of Mana and Dawn of Mana. Ugh. Yeah. But the good Mana, I am here for. And this is a return to form. This is good Mana. And it looks beautiful. It looks gorgeous. Everything that I've seen just looks fantastic. And I cannot wait for it.
Dude, it's funny because when we were building our list, and I knew somehow that was going to be the first game you mentioned, and I was like, and when I was building my list, I'm like, I have to avoid the ones that most likely David's going to pick, and I knew that was going to be the first one that you talked about today. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
So
just looking at the heroes, looking at the little pickle that you can ride and everything, the little mana spirits are back, and the exploration, how could you not be excited about it? It's great.
It really is. And ever since, I I introduced my wife to, well, reintroduced, I suppose, because like she wasn't a fan of Legend of Mana and all those other games and stuff, but like when
Weird Manas.
Weird Madness. And when she played the Trials of Mana remake, like that's when she was like, okay, I'm all in again. I'm waiting for the next Mana game. And when I showed her the trailer for this one, she was just like, her face glowed. She was like, I can't wait for this one. And I can't wait for it either, because this thing looks really amazing. This absolutely is awesome. So that said, I do have my own picks, and I'm going to start from like I don't want to say like the least most anticipated, because I'm anticipating all of them, but Deca Police is a game that a lot of people have been talking about because Level 5 hasn't really been making a lot of games lately. So when they kind
left the West.
They did leave the West. And so, you know, we had like Ni no Kuni 2. I think that was like one of the last games that they made. So now they're kind of coming back in full force. Deca Police is like this really weird cyberspace / detective / turn-based JRPG that I didn't know I wanted until I saw the trailers. Like, it was giving me like some really good investigative vibes. And I know last year I talked about Raincode, which it has some RPG elements, but it seems like this one is really going to be like that turn-based JRPG mixed with detective kind of sleuthing that you would be doing, like, you know, investigative gameplay that is kind of a weird mix. But when you really think about like, you know, the potential for both genres to kind of merge, it makes it kind of like an interesting experience. So, and the artwork is really fascinating too. Like, you know, there's apparently going to be like, you know, mix of real world and cyberspace kind of thing, which I'm guessing like in cyberspace, that's where you do like the turn-based combat or something like that. There's not a lot of info out there, but what I've seen is just enough for me to get really excited and really looking forward to like what this is going to turn out. Because again, Level 5, they're great, right?
Level is one of my favorite developers. Between how they have handled the Dragon Quest series, Ni no Kuni, they did Joan of Arc, they've done some really cool games in the past. And now they're coming back with Deca Police, they're coming back with Fantasy Life, they're coming back with a whole bevy of games that I am very much looking forward to. And I hate to burst your bubble, but last I heard about Deca Police, got delayed till 2025. So,
oh no!
But hey, we can always look forward to it. And you know what I mean? Like,
you know,
like,
yeah.
A game that has been delayed will eventually be good, but a game that is released prematurely will always be bad. You know, I give games one chance. I give them one shot to kind of prove themselves. And there's some people out there like, oh, well, just wait. You know, they'll patch this. They'll make it better. You just have to wait a couple of months. No, ma'am. I ain't waiting. To quote the great Kefka, what do I look like? A waiter? No, I'm not doing it. Like, once the game comes out, that's my hype, and I'm gonna play it. And if I have to wait a month or two for them to like fix their shit, no, I've already moved on at that point. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and delay it. Let the hype build up and release a full, complete, good game. I applaud you for that.
Yeah. And just for clarity, you know, obviously I didn't know that that's, you know, delayed in 2025, but I agree with David. Like, push it however long you want, make the perfect game. And you know what? Maybe this is news to you. Maybe it's news to you that Deca Police got delayed till next year. And if so, you can still look forward to it because it's going to turn out to be an amazing game. Fingers crossed.
Definitely.
So, now, David.
Yes. Okay, so the game that I want to talk about next that I'm also looking forward to, actually playing right now, Be Jealous.
Oh.
A Yun Chronicle 100 Heroes.
Oh my god.
I'm able to play on beta right now, and I have been for the last 2 days because I was a Kickstarter backer. So I'm going on through about 2 or so hours into it right now, and I'm having a blast with it. Total blast. This is Suikoden in all but name. It really is.
Nice.
Like, you have 6 character parties that they all fight at the same time. You have random battles, and I know some people are gonna be like, "Ugh, it's not on-screen encounters, it's random." But you know what? It was always random in Suikoden. It is what it is. You have true runes. They're just not called true runes, but they're essentially the 27 true runes. You have unite attacks. They're called hero attacks now. Like, it's just like everything's there that makes a great Suikoden. It's just called something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is fantastic. It really is everything that I'm shaping up to be, and I am going to be putting out an impressions video for it. So do look forward to that.
That's awesome. So like my friend was like blooping me before this recording. He was actually linking me to the forum for influencers for Aiden Chronicle 100 Heroes. So literally like right after this, I'm going to fill out that form so that I can get my key, because I can't wait to play that. Because like it's like we've said, this year has been amazing so far. So it's just going to get even better for worse because we don't have time.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
I remember a time not that long ago in around the PS3 era where it was a dark age and people were like, the death of the JRPG, the death of the turn-based game. And now that entire generation pretty much just sucked. It really did, to be quite honest with you. But then the PS4 came around and it really started picking up steam. PS5 came out and man, it has taken off. We're getting so many great games on the indie scene, on the Switch, on mainline games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We're getting so many, and we really have no room to complain at all. I'm a very, very happy camper right now.
Absolutely. And to your point about turn-based RPGs like actually dying off and stuff in the PS3 era, like I think it's very telling that last year one of the biggest games, like actually not even one of the biggest game, probably the biggest game of last year was a turn-based RPG in Baldur's Gate 3. Like that to me just blows me away. So all those haters, they're saying like, oh, turn-based is dead, it's boring. Well,
it's just a system limitation. Give me a break.
Yeah, like if anything, like just like Baldur's Gate last year proved that you can be a AAA game and still release a really good turn-based RPG. So
exactly. I mean, even back on the NES, we had action RPGs, we had turn-based RPGs, we had strategy RPGs. It's something new. It's just a different take on the genre. Exactly. So what are you looking forward to next?
I am looking forward to Trails. I haven't drank anything at all, but I feel drunk right now.
Are you sure?
I don't know. It's like a residual from like our last video for something.
I see that.
But Trails Through Daybreak is something that I'm really looking forward to. I think it's supposed to come out like July 5th or something like that, which I'm kind of like, why didn't you release it before like that weekend? Maybe it is like after who knows? But I have been just waiting for this game to come out for literal years, because the thing is with Falcom games, and as many as you know, like they just need to come out a lot faster than they do because they have large scripts. It's kind of getting to a point where like, what is it? This now like a 2 or 3 year old game, and it's like releasing now when other games are coming out that kind of look better. So it's like it's got a lot of competition. But what's really cool about Trails Through Daybreak is that it is a brand new starting point in the Trails series. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to insist that people start 10 games ago, and I'm not going to stand for that, because according to, by the way, like this is kind of an A-side, David, I posted a poll asking people if they're burning out on the Trails series. A whopping 47% of people of more than 600 votes told me that they're burning out on the series. So the fact that Trails Through Daybreak is a brand new starting point in the Trails saga is welcome. And the thing that I'm really, really, really super excited about Trails Through Daybreak is the blend of action RPG gameplay and turn-based combat. Have you heard about that, David?
I have.
Yeah. So the way that it works is that if you're fighting trash mobs, like really easy mobs that your characters are going to one-shot anyway, you can just engage in action gameplay and just beat the crap out of them in the field as they're kind of exploring the world or whatever. So instead of taking more time to defeat them and I guess maybe gain experience or whatever, like you can just do that. Action gameplay, much like Ys, boom, boom, boom. But when you get to a boss, that's a mandatory turn-based combat, like all together. So people who are worried about like, oh, how are they going to balance the game because there's action gameplay, there's turn-based, they've had a plan this whole time to do that. And I think being seamless like that is actually kind of cool, because even in the turn-based genre, nobody has actually attempted to blend action gameplay with turn-based in the same game and actually giving the players the choice to do that. until the next game I'm about to talk about, which I'll talk about later.
I was about to say.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that a lot once we get to that. But go ahead.
So you were talking about people being burned out on the Trails series, and I was like, yeah, me too. Raise my hand. Like, I've got to say, people have said that Trails Through Daybreak 1 is a good game. People have said that Trails Through Daybreak 2, not so much. But then I think that Kondo, he is the person who is in charge of the Trails series and all that over at Falcom. He knows that people are burned out on the Trails series or getting burned out or whatever. So he's like, you know what? We need to wrap it up. And that's what he said. He said it is time to wrap this up. So he, the next couple of games is pretty much going to be the end of the saga. So that is very nice to know. I, for one, am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to whenever they do start up a new Trails, because you know that they are going to start up a new Trails, to making it a tighter story. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they started Trails in the Sky and they were like, oh yeah, you know, we're going to tell this story about this Kingdom Liberal, but then like it was popular. So they're like, oh, well, I guess we should do something about, you know, Erebonia. Oh, I guess we should do something on Crossbell. And then it's like ballooned up into this huge thing and they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And now they're trying to, you know, wrap it all up. So hopefully now that they kind of have this one under their belt, the next one they can really kind of wrap up and make a tighter story, you know, because I don't need side quests about, gosh, my little cat is up in the tree. Can you help me, mister? I don't need that. I need side quests that actually deal with the content of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's really my complaint there with the Trails series. It's too many side quests that are completely meaningless, I suppose.
And to your point, I've always had the suspicion that the biggest fans of Trails are actually huge fans of visual novels with the amount of text that the entire series has. Because, like, you know, you really think about the Trails series, and I'm not knocking on the Trails series, you know, like, stay your pitchforks in flames, people. But, like, you know, the orbment system's been the same. Like, there's minor tweaks over time, right? Over 10 games. And the same thing with, like, the turn-based combat, which, you know, I personally enjoy them, but I can understand, like, some people can get really burnt out because of the gameplay as well. So I'm hoping that, like, with Trails Through Daybreak and what they're doing there, it's enough of a change for people to kind of take a look at the series again and be okay with this brand new starting point. Read some summaries, watch some summaries, get to here, I don't care. Start here, because I think that's going to be a really good new starting point.
I do think that it will be a good starting point, and I also think that Nice is doing a fantastic job with localizations. We got 4 Trails games in 1 year from them, for God's sake.
Yes.
4 in 1 year. So, like, they can quit their complaining. The reason why we're so behind is because of Xseed, not because of Nice. Xseed took forever. Nice is pumping these things out. Yeah. So we're going to be caught up. We'll be caught up. Don't worry, folks. Folks.
And actually, that is a really amazing segue to your game, because it's also a Falcom game. And you want to talk about like, and you know, NIS America doing like a crap ton of Falcom localizations. We didn't even expect this game to arrive this year, right?
No, we didn't. I'm talking about Ys 10 Nordics. We've heard about this one, and it's been released in Japan, and we knew that we were going to get it, because, you know, duh, it's Ys, but we just didn't know when, and we figured, you know, maybe early next year or something, but no, we're getting it this fall, in time for the holiday season, so that's really freaking cool. And this is the latest chapter in Adol's adventure, but it takes place after Ys 2. So for those of you unaware with the Ys series, it is a long-running series, started way back, I think even before like the NES, started on like, I don't know, the Family Computer System 88 or whatever the hell it was. I don't know, something that I have no idea. Anyway, we didn't get the ones on the NES. It was first came over on the TurboGrafx-16 over here in America, but anyway, that's a whole different story. So the Ys series, basically, each game is a journal entry of Adol's. So Adol keeps this long-running journal of his, recording his various adventures in the various countries that he went to, and each game is a journal entry, essentially. So they don't exactly go in order. There's no really rhyme or reason to it. But this entry takes place right after Ys 2. So Adol is much younger than he was in Ys 8 or Ys 9, especially because he was rather old in Ys 9, I must say. But anyway, this takes place in the Nordic countries, and instead of having like a full party, you just have one party member. You have Karja, and you can fight with Adol, you can fight with Karja, or you can do this combo system where you're like tethered together and you like fight together and you beat the enemies up or whatever. And it's just really freaking cool. Also, it introduces sailing into the game, which is interesting because if you know anything about Adol and his history with ships,
yeah,
he doesn't exactly have the best history of being on a ship. It seems like every single one of his adventures begins with being shipwrecked. So, but this one actually involves ship-based combat, like naval battles and stuff, cannon fire among the ships, sailing from island to island to island, kind of like how Ys 8 took place on one island, the island of Siren, and then Ys 9 took place in one city. Ys 10 is actually giving you more places to explore. You get to explore multiple islands inside the one sea. So that's really cool and really different. It's just a different take. I don't know how I feel about the lack of more party members because a lot of party members has been a staple in the series ever since Ys 7 came around, and then they even retconned more party members into Ys 4 Memories of Celceta that wasn't in there in Mask of the Sun. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I have seen good reviews from the Japanese people who have played it, so I am hoping and praying that it will be good, and it's an Ys game, and haven't really been disappointed yet.
Yeah.
Except by Ys 5, but...
Yeah, I think like this move towards like what made Ys 8 popular with the exploration is a really good move, and then adding like the ship combat is very fascinating. Although how many shipwrecks are we gonna get in 10 because of that? No. And I think the move to have like just two characters is their way to try to tighten the combat a little bit, because when we all move to like this, this kind of almost free-form, crazy, mashy, friendly kind of Ys combat, there's some contingent of fans that actually didn't appreciate that because like it kind of removed some of the kind of like better feedback that previous games had. And so this is kind of like how I read like, Ys 10. It's almost kind of like trying to get the best of what it was before and the best of what it was, like the past few games. And I think they're actually doing a splendid job of trying to figure out where that balance is while still kind of retaining like all of the elements that we've loved from previous games, right? And I think what you said about like the history of Ys is also very interesting, because if you haven't played any Ys games, they're actually released all out of order. So Ys 9 didn't necessarily happen after Ys 8, and of course 10 didn't happen after 9. It's way back in the past. So it's like kind of this topsy-turvy order, but it's because of that you can actually approach it in any shape, way, or form that you want, because you know that all of the stories are kind of really tight in that specific game. And there's very little ramifications in between games anyway. So, like you can just kind of play the game and enjoy it. And Ys 10 is another great game by Falcom that is just, again, that's 2 Falcom games this year that we're getting, which is...
What can I say? I'm a fan.
Yeah, right? It's really insane, dude. So, yeah, I'm in shock. So...
Very good. Well, there's another game coming out in the fall that I think that you're looking forward to as well.
My God. So this game went by so many, other names, like, it's the Persona team's next game or whatever, even though that wasn't true. This game, was named Project Refantasy. And the reason why it was named that way was because the team over at Atlus, which is Katsura Hashino, who was the director of the Persona 3, 4, and 5, Sojima, who is like the character designer for 3, 4, and 5, Persona 3, 4, and 5, and Shoji Meguro, who was the composer of 3, 4, and 5, basically decided that it's time for a new paradigm shift in RPGs with Atlus. Because back in the day, the reason why there were a ton of RPGs in the Shin Megami Tensei universe that was set in modern era is because they kept seeing a lot of like people, releasing games that were like in medieval fantasy settings and whatnot. And they're like, you know what? Why don't we set games in a modern era and make it still like fantasy, right? And the answer to that was the Megami Tensei series, and of course all the way to Persona. And then you get all these, other people doing the same thing now. They're like, oh, we have to set it in modern times. The newly announced Tokyo Xanadu is obviously going to be set in modern era as well. So they're like, all right. So a lot of people are doing what we're doing now. It's not new anymore. It's not fresh anymore. Let's do something different. Their answer is Project Refantasy, which was supposed to actually capture the spirit, the frontier spirit of making JRPGs back in the Super Nintendo era, because it's a bold new world. Right? And of course, about a year or so ago, they finally came out with the actual name, which is Metaphor Refantasio, which is a crazy-ass name. I don't even understand why it's named that way, but it is what it is.
It's better than Various Day Life.
Or Triangle Strategy. Oh my god, like Team Asano, you need a better branding person there, because Octopath Traveler, Various Day Life, Triangle Strategy, oh my goodness, these Bravely Default. Okay, yeah, we need to.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah. So Metaphor Refantasio is kind of like this. The byproduct of every single thing that Hashino has learned directing all of the Persona games from 3 onward, but also everything that he's learned from directing Digital Devil Saga, which he also directed both of those games. He also directed Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. So he's taking all of that combined knowledge and making this game, which is surprisingly another move forward into this world that's blending turn-based combat and action games. And keep in mind that if Falcom had released Trails Through Daybreak a year or two, or originally when it came out in Japan, they would have been pioneers in this department. But they are literally coming out with the same concept in the West alongside a big hitter like Studio Zero, which is the new studio that this was made specifically for. And the approach that Metaphor Refantasio has that is very, very different from Trails Through Daybreak, which is actually more streamlined, and this is something that I've been waiting and dying to talk about, and you're gonna get this right now, is that normally you'd be fighting swaths of enemies, much like, kind of Dynasty Warriors-esque style, by yourself as the main character in action combat. But occasionally, you're going to face an enemy that is going to take a lot more hits than normal to kill. And you're probably going to get pummeled by people around you if you don't pay attention. So you can't exactly just, hit it with your stick for a long time. So whenever you do that, the game detects that you're having a tougher time than normal. You have an optional button that you can press, that if you press the button, it completely changes the entire scene of combat to turn-based combat. And instead of you just fighting the dude by yourself, all your party members come in right beside you, and that's when turn-based combat actually happens. So
I wasn't aware of that particular function. Okay, cool. That's neat. I like that.
And it's more intuitive because, unlike Trails Through Daybreak that just kind of lets you do whatever you want, this game, there's a purpose for it, because you'll eventually, because how many times have you played an action RPG where, okay, this is taking forever to kill and stuff like that. I just want 1-hit kills, 2-hit kills, or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna take you 30, 40, 50 times, well, let's bring in the party. Let's bring in your entire army. Let's freaking do this together. And I thought that is just a sheer move of brilliance, because that makes both turn-based and action combat really complementary to each other, as opposed to being a personal choice. Because really, I like both games' approaches, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a approach that Metaphor Refantasio is taking that is going to be a lot more intuitive to a lot of people that love both. And and to be fair, we're, David and I are huge fans of both action RPGs and turn-based RPGs. So, either way, we're going to love this game to begin with. But what I love about Metaphor is that it manages to find a good place for both. It's not forcing you into a particular style of play that you're not comfortable with, because I'm pretty sure the action gameplay is going to play really well. And the same thing with the turn-based combat. It's just now it's married in such a beautiful and elegant way that anybody can enjoy it. And here's the thing too. So talk about the scenario that I mentioned where that enemy is really difficult to fight, right? Because maybe you're lower level. Well, if you come back to that region or something, or you face that enemy, well, guess what? It's going to be a 1 or 2 or 3 hit regular enemy that you can defeat in action combat. So in that way,
you don't have to use turn-based anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. So just thinking about that concept just really has me excited because there are so many things that you can build on top of, right? And that's not even talking about like potentially what the progression system is going to be and what kind of other secrets it's going to have that really expand upon our definition of what JRPGs can be. And and this is not a knock on anything that came before this year, because this year has been amazing. But any sort of forward movement in turn-based combat and action gameplay and marrying them together is something that defines my 2024 experience for me. So that's why this is at the top of my list here. This is at the top of my list when I ranked all 10 of my most anticipated games, which, by the way, I thank you for that idea. I know I stole that from you, and you freaking christened that from me.
Stole a lot of ideas from me.
I know I did.
But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
You stole a lot of ideas from me too, and that's totally fine.
I know. Yeah, hey, share and share alike.
We're stealing from each other. And so that's I think why that's not the top of my list. And to kind of sum it up, I do want to kind of hear your thoughts about all the games we talked about, because it's not just the 3 games that you're looking forward to, it's also some of the games that I've mentioned too as well. And I want to hear your parting thoughts on that. And
I'm just happy that Atlus is actually doing stuff besides Persona. Back in the day, whenever you saw Atlus on a video game box, you knew that it was quality, and you knew that it was going to be something different, something weird, and it was going to be a lot of fun. So I'm super happy now that Atlus is veering not away from SMT or not away from Persona. They're still doing that, but they're just experimenting. They're seeing, what else can be done. And they're using this to do it. And to me, it reminds me a lot of Rogue Galaxy, where you're off and you're exploring the space and you're talking to your friends and everything, and you're going to different worlds, and it's just very, very high fantasy. And I really do like that. Because to me personally, I live in the modern world. Been there, done that. I see it all around me. I kind of want to see something different in my games, So if I'm playing some high school simulator, I'm I've been to high school, I've worked a part-time job, I've been to swim class before, I kind of want to do something different. Oh, look, I have to go home and study for homework. Look, I've done that before too.
Yeah.
Let me go do some high fantasy battling. That's what I play a game for. You know what I'm saying? So I am personally happy that we are getting this different diversion, And Metaphor looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. There's this hoverboard that you can go on and everything. It's so cool. It looks so freaking amazing. And we have a very solid lineup of games this entire year. The 6 games that we spoke of, they're great games, but it's just scratching the surface of what is actually available this year. There's just so many coming this year, and next year there's more down the pike. And we are eating good, to quote the kids. I always see that in the comment. We're eating good this year. I never say that, but okay, yeah.
We're old.
I know. I'm oh, this is some new term I need to look up on what's that website where you look up the terms?
Urban Dictionary?
That one, that one. I'm always on that site looking for weird things that people tell me in the comments that I have no idea what they're talking about or what they mean. For sure. Well, I'm really happy that you're thinking the same thing, because this year has been absolutely amazing when it comes to JRPGs and RPGs in general. If you're a fan of the genre, there's just so much to love. And David is right. There's more than this 6 that we mentioned. So we're kind of curious to see what you're looking forward to. So post your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. David and I are going to scour the comments, check it out, and maybe we'll respond to you, and maybe we'll even make a video in the future. Who knows? There's a whole world of possibilities. So I always enjoy talking with you, Alex. Anytime.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being here and re-recording this with a brand new set of games.
No kidding.
All right, guys. So post all your games that you're looking forward to, if it's part of the 6 or not part of the 6, in the comments below, and let's talk about it. So thank you very much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.